You can feel it, can't you? That unspoken tension between you and her. The way her eyes linger just a second longer. The way her energy shifts when you walk into the room. And yet, you do nothing. You convince yourself she's just being nice, that maybe you're imagining it. But deep down, a part of you knows she's waiting. She's waiting for you to make a move. Not out of desperation, but out of curiosity. She wants to see if you can see her, not as a girl playing games, but as a woman silently testing your awareness. You see, women don't always speak attraction through words. They transmit it through presence, tone, timing. And when a younger woman is drawn to an older man, that energy becomes even more complex. Because it's not about lust, it's about polarity. She's drawn to your stillness, your confidence, your maturity, but she's also measuring if your composure is real or just a mask for fear. This is where most men lose her. They overthink, they hesitate, they suppress their instinct. And that hesitation tells her everything she needs to know. Because in that moment, she's not judging your looks, she's judging your courage. She's asking silently, are you the kind of man who moves when it matters? If you've ever felt that magnetic pull with a younger woman and couldn't understand what it meant, stay. Because by the end of this, you'll not only know the signs she's waiting for you to act, you'll understand the psychology behind why she's drawn to you in the first place. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. You know what most men get completely wrong about attraction? They assume that if a woman likes them, she'll just come out and say it. But that's not how feminine energy works. Women, especially younger women, express interest not through words, but through signals. It's never direct, and it's never loud. It's subtle. It's in the unspoken moments that most men overlook because they're too distracted, too unsure, or too disconnected from their own intuition to notice. A younger woman who's drawn to you doesn't announce it. She allows you to sense it. She leaves traces in her tone, her timing, and her body language, micro-expressions that reveal what her ego refuses to confess. Because in her world, desire is never stated, it's felt. It's a quiet tension she allows you to feel only if you're present enough to notice. But most men don't see it because they're operating from logic, not awareness. They want confirmation, validation, proof, and that's exactly why they miss it. Women communicate attraction through an emotional rhythm, not a verbal script. You can't decode it with reason, you have to feel it through energy. That's what separates emotionally intelligent men from ordinary ones. They read energy, not words. You'll notice it in the small things. The way she looks at you when you're not speaking. The way her voice softens when she says your name. The way she plays with her hair or adjusts her posture when you walk in. She's not doing these things consciously. It's her subconscious aligning with attraction. Every move, every pause, every fleeting glance is a message. But to receive it, you must stop analyzing and start observing. Because when a woman is waiting for you to make a move, she doesn't need to tell you. She creates the space for it. She lingers longer after conversations. She finds excuses to be near you, sometimes subtle, sometimes playful. She might tease you, challenge you, or ask questions that seem meaningless, but underneath that, she's assessing one thing. Are you aware enough to see what's right in front of you? And that's where most men lose their moment. They misread her signals as friendliness or politeness. They rationalize them away, saying, she's just being nice. No, she's being available. There's a difference. Women don't extend emotional energy toward men they have no interest in. They don't linger in conversations they don't enjoy. They don't hold eye contact with men they're indifferent to. Everything she does has a layer beneath it, and if you can't read between those lines, you'll always believe opportunities are scarce. When in truth, they were right there, waiting for you to awaken. You see, feminine attraction is rooted in intuition and emotion. She feels first, then thinks. and she expects a man who leads with presence, not pressure. When you're confident enough to read her silence instead of demanding her confession, you communicate something powerful that you see her, not just her beauty, not just her words, but her essence. And that's when she softens. That's when she opens. Because you've proven you understand the feminine language without her having to teach it. There's a reason women find certain older men irresistible. It's because those men carry awareness. They've matured beyond impulsive desire and learned to listen beyond words. They know that attraction isn't a transaction, it's an energy exchange. When you hold eye contact without trying to dominate, when you smile without needing approval, when you simply exist in calm confidence, she feels safe, and in that safety, she lets you feel her interest. This is the paradox of attraction. The more you chase clarity through words, the less you'll perceive it through energy. The more you try to make her say it, the more she'll retreat into silence. But when you trust your intuition and move with emotional intelligence, you'll begin to recognize what most men can't, that her silence isn't absence, it's anticipation. A younger woman will never spell out her interest because her attraction thrives on mystery. She wants to feel that you can sense her without her having to guide you. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you stand out in a sea of men trying too hard to prove something. When you learn to read her unspoken signals, you don't just understand her, you make her feel understood. And that's where connection begins. Not in words, not in declarations, but in awareness. The kind of awareness that makes her say to herself, "He gets it." Because that's the moment she realizes you're not like the rest, you're tuned in. So start paying attention. Listen to her silence, not her sentences. Watch what her eyes are saying long before her mouth catches up. Learn to hear what's not being said, because when you do, you'll unlock a level of attraction that no amount of words can ever create. The signals were always there. You just needed to wake up to them. What draws a younger woman to an older man isn't what most people assume. It's not the money, not the looks, not even the lifestyle. It's the energy. The energy of a man who's grounded, calm, emotionally intelligent, and unshaken by chaos. Because younger women today live in a world of constant stimulation, noise, drama, insecurity, endless comparison. When she meets a man who radiates peace instead of panic, she feels something rarer, she feels safe. And that safety doesn't mean weakness. It means stability. It means he doesn't flinch when she tests him. He doesn't overreact when she pulls back. He doesn't lose himself trying to impress her. He's centered, and that emotional stability is what sets him apart from the rest. You see, she's not looking for perfection, she's looking for presence. The kind that says, "I know who I am, and nothing you do will make me forget that." This is what most men get wrong about attraction. They try to perform instead of connect. They think they need to prove their worth through material things or exaggerated confidence. But women, especially younger women, can feel when a man's confidence is performative. They sense when it's fragile. True attraction begins when a man no longer needs validation to feel valuable. Because then he's not chasing approval, he's inviting connection. A younger woman who's drawn to an older man is not simply attracted to his experience. She's attracted to his emotional depth. It's how he listens, how he observes, how he carries himself with quiet strength. He doesn't rush to fill silence. He understands that silence itself is a language. He doesn't compete with her attention. He earns it through calm consistency. That kind of presence builds trust instantly, because she realizes she's finally in front of a man who doesn't need to prove his masculinity. He simply is masculine. From a psychological perspective, this dynamic touches something deep within her subconscious. Younger women, often navigating identity and emotion, are drawn to emotional security. It's not about age, it's about energy. When a man carries himself with emotional control, he represents order in a world that often feels chaotic. That sense of control doesn't come from dominance. It comes from maturity. And that's why emotional intelligence is one of the most magnetic forces in attraction. Emotional intelligence means understanding that her moods aren't personal attacks. Her emotions aren't puzzles to be solved. They're experiences to be witnessed. When she feels seen, not judged, her walls start to drop. She begins to trust you, not because you fixed her problems, but because you stayed steady when she revealed them. That's the quiet power of a grounded man. His calm becomes her comfort. Younger women can feel this contrast instantly. They know when a man is reacting from ego versus responding from awareness. The man who reacts tries to control her. The man who responds knows he doesn't need to. The difference is emotional security, and that's what makes her lean in. Not because you're chasing her, but because she feels pulled by something she can't explain. Philosophically, attraction is less about surface compatibility and more about energetic harmony. Feminine energy seeks a container, a grounded presence that can hold her emotional waves without drowning in them. Masculine energy provides that space, not through control, but through stillness. That's why so many younger women are drawn to men who've matured emotionally. They've developed the kind of depth that can't be faked. But here's the catch. Emotional depth isn't built by age alone. There are older men who are emotionally fragile and younger men who are wise beyond their years. The difference lies in awareness. Have you learned from your pain, or are you still repeating it? Have you faced your insecurities, or are you hiding them behind charm and confidence? Because she can feel the difference immediately. She knows when your confidence is earned or when it's borrowed. When she senses real maturity, it disarms her. It quiets the noise in her mind that's used to chaos, because now she's in front of a man who doesn't play games. He listens. He understands. He leads with calm certainty, and that's where attraction deepens, not through fantasy, but through peace. Because for a woman, especially a younger one, peace is the most seductive energy a man can offer. You don't need to chase, perform, or convince. You just need to be. When you're emotionally steady, you naturally create polarity, the dynamic tension between masculine calm and feminine energy. And that's the invisible magnet that pulls her in without a single word. So the next time you find yourself around a younger woman who seems drawn to you, don't ask, "What do I need to do to impress her?" Ask instead, "Am I grounded enough for her to feel safe being herself around me?" Because that's the real test of attraction. It's not about what you can show, it's about what you can hold. Remember this, she's not waiting for a man who shines the loudest. She's waiting for the one who stands firm when everything else is loud. Be that man, steady, aware, and unshakably calm. Hesitation. That single moment between knowing what you feel and acting on it is where most men lose everything. They feel the connection, they sense her interest, they recognize the pull, but instead of trusting it, they freeze. They question themselves, overanalyze every word, every glance, every silence. And by the time they've convinced themselves it's real, the moment has already slipped away. What's tragic is that this hesitation doesn't come from a lack of attraction. It comes from fear, the fear of being wrong, the fear of rejection, the fear of misreading the situation. But what men fail to realize is that women don't measure your worth by your perfection. They measure it by your certainty. When you hesitate, you communicate doubt, and doubt is the fastest way to destroy attraction. A younger woman who's drawn to an older man expects something different from him. She expects composure. She expects emotional intelligence. She expects him to lead the moment, not dominate it, but direct it with quiet confidence. Because when you hesitate, you send her a subconscious message that you're not as grounded as you appeared. The energy shifts instantly. What was once attraction becomes uncertainty, and uncertainty in a woman's emotional world feels unsafe. She retreats. You see, the psychology of hesitation runs deeper than just waiting too long. It's about energy transfer. Feminine energy is responsive. It moves according to the energy that's presented to it. If a man leads with confidence, her energy opens. If he leads with doubt, her energy closes. It's not personal, it's biological, it's emotional, it's instinctive. That's why when a man delays his move, thinking he's being cautious, what she actually feels is that he's disconnected from his masculine instinct. And here's what most men miss: hesitation doesn't protect you from rejection, it creates it. Because a woman doesn't want to guide you into your role. She wants to feel that you already know it. When she looks at you with that spark of curiosity or lingers a little longer in your space, she's opening the door. But when you hesitate, she has to close it to protect her own self-image. She tells herself, maybe I misread it. Or maybe he's not interested. Not because she lost attraction, but because your inaction made her question her own intuition. Philosophically, hesitation is the death of alignment. It's what happens when the mind interrupts what the body already knows. You feel the connection, your instincts tell you it's there, but your thoughts start creating stories. What if she's not interested? What if I embarrass myself? What if I lose her respect? In trying to protect your ego, you betray your intuition, and women feel that betrayal instantly. A man who hesitates communicates that he doesn't trust himself. And if you don't trust yourself, she can't trust you either. Women are deeply intuitive. They can sense your confidence before you even speak. They can feel when you're fully present and when you're trapped in overthinking. The moment you hesitate, your energy changes, you disconnect from her emotionally. That's why she loses interest even when nothing went wrong. When a younger woman feels a connection with you, she's not waiting for you to say the perfect thing. She's waiting to feel your certainty. The certainty that says, I know what I feel, and I'm not afraid to express it. It doesn't have to be a grand gesture or a bold confession. Sometimes it's as simple as holding her gaze a second longer, leaning in slightly, letting your energy communicate what words never could. Because what she's drawn to isn't action, it's decisiveness, the ability to move without overthinking, the courage to take emotional risks without letting fear paralyze you. That's what separates attraction from connection. Anyone can feel chemistry, but only a grounded man can move through it with confidence. Younger women especially admire that trait because it's rare. They're surrounded by men who hide behind their phones, who text instead of speak, who analyze instead of act. When she encounters a man who can read her signals and respond in real time, with authenticity, not arrogance, it shocks her system. It reminds her that confidence isn't loud, it's clear. Hesitation, on the other hand, breeds confusion. It makes her question everything she was starting to feel. Because if you can't move with clarity in the early stages, how will you handle the depth that comes later? How will you lead with emotional maturity when things get complicated? That's what she subconsciously asks herself in those silent moments. So when you sense that energy between you, trust it. Don't let your mind talk you out of what your body already knows. Connection doesn't wait, it flows. And if you let hesitation break that flow, you'll spend your life watching opportunities dissolve right in front of you. The truth is, women don't lose interest suddenly. They lose interest gradually in the spaces between your hesitation. Every pause that came from fear, every silence that came from doubt, every missed moment that came from overthinking, that's where attraction dies. So learn this: the right moment doesn't wait for certainty, it's created by it. You don't need to know exactly what to say or do, you just need to trust yourself enough to act. Because when you move with confidence, she feels safe. When you hesitate, she questions everything. Act when the moment calls for you, because hesitation is not safety, it's slow self-sabotage. When a younger woman is waiting for you to make a move, she doesn't say it, she creates it. Every opportunity she gives you, every extended glance, Every playful question, every accidental brush of her hand isn't random, it's intentional. It's her way of opening a door without having to say, "Come in." Because feminine energy doesn't lead, it invites. It doesn't chase, it allows. And when you understand that, you stop looking for verbal permission and start recognizing emotional opportunities. Most men miss these openings because they're conditioned to expect direct signals. They think attraction will always look obvious, but in truth, women communicate through subtext. They test your awareness long before they ever test your intentions. When she laughs at something that wasn't even that funny, when she asks about your weekend, even though she doesn't need to, when she lingers after saying goodbye instead of walking away, that's her energy giving you space to move closer. Psychologically, this comes from a place of emotional safety. A woman, especially a younger one, wants to know if you can read her emotional language without her having to spell it out. Because if she has to tell you to act, she's already lost a part of her attraction. She wants to feel that you see her cues, that you notice her patterns, that you're attuned to her. That attunement tells her you're emotionally intelligent. And emotional intelligence, to a woman, is one of the purest forms of masculinity. Here's what most men never realize: women don't test your logic, they test your presence. When she gives you subtle chances to take the lead, she's watching how you respond to uncertainty. Do you freeze? Do you fumble? Or do you calmly match her energy with awareness? Because how you respond in those moments reveals everything about the kind of man you are. If you overthink it, she senses it. If you rush it, she feels unsafe. But if you move with grounded confidence, without hesitation, without arrogance, she relaxes. Because that's what she was waiting for, not a line, not a performance, but a feeling. The feeling that says, you see me, you understand me, and you're not afraid of me. A younger woman will often create small windows of vulnerability, tiny cracks where she lets her guard down for a few seconds to see if you'll step in with emotional intelligence. Maybe she shares a personal detail about her life that she didn't need to. Maybe she teases you, but watches your reaction carefully. Maybe she gets a little quieter when you speak about something meaningful. These aren't random. They're signals layered with purpose. She's saying, I'm open, but only if you know how to handle me with awareness. Philosophically, this is the feminine principle at work. The feminine is the invitation, the masculine is the direction. When she offers that emotional space, she's surrendering a small moment of control, trusting that you'll hold it with respect. The problem is, many men either miss it completely or take it too far. The first group stays stuck in analysis, afraid to make a move. The second group becomes aggressive, thinking leadership is dominance. Both are wrong. True masculine energy knows when to act and when to hold. It senses timing. It understands rhythm. It leads with balance, not with force. So when she gives you those invitations, respond with awareness, not pressure. If she's opening up emotionally, mirror her vulnerability with presence. If she's being playful, meet her with humor, not arrogance. If she lingers in conversation, lean in slightly. Show her that you recognize her invitation without turning it into a performance. Because confidence isn't about doing more, it's about doing exactly enough. And this is where the difference between boys and men becomes visible. Boys wait for permission, men sense alignment. Boys think attraction is something to chase, men understand it's something to respond to. When you start seeing her behavior not as coincidence, but as communication, you begin to interact with her on a higher level, emotionally, energetically, spiritually. You're no longer trying to impress her, you're simply in tune with her. This level of awareness doesn't just attract her, it earns her respect. Because now she knows you're not guessing, you're feeling, you're not reacting, you're responding. You're leading without needing control. That's what makes her trust you. That's what makes her lean in even more. And remember, when a woman feels seen, she becomes softer. When she feels unseen, she hardens. The moment she realizes you can read her silence as easily as her words, she lets her guard down. That's when connection happens, not through words, but through presence. So stop waiting for a clear sign. The signs are already there. They've always been there. They're in her tone, her timing, her tension. But you'll only notice them when you stop searching for proof and start paying attention to energy. Because women don't hand you opportunities, they create them. And the man who learns to recognize them will always move ahead of the one still waiting to be told what to do. The truth is simple. She's not looking for a man who asks for permission. She's waiting for the one who understands the invitation. Confidence is not about being loud, and it's not about being dominant. It's about being anchored. A younger woman who is waiting for you to make a move isn't looking for a man who overwhelms her. She's waiting for the man whose calm certainty allows her to feel safe enough to let go of her defenses. Confidence, in its purest form, is quiet. It's the way you walk into a room without needing to be noticed, but end up being felt. It's the way you speak with purpose, not pressure. It's the way you hold eye contact, not to intimidate, but to connect. That kind of confidence doesn't demand attention. It attracts it effortlessly. You see, women are incredibly perceptive. They can sense insecurity masked as charm. They can feel when confidence is rehearsed rather than lived. That's why the kind of confidence that captures a woman's attention isn't external, it's energetic. It comes from self-knowledge, emotional maturity, and alignment between who you are and how you act. When you've done the inner work, you stop performing and start being. And that authenticity is magnetic. Younger women, in particular, respond to that because it's rare. Most men their age are still proving themselves, trying to be seen, trying to win approval, trying to appear confident. But a man who has reached a level of internal peace doesn't need to try. He already knows what he brings to the table. His confidence is not built on attention, it's built on identity. And when a woman senses that, she relaxes, because confidence grounded in peace gives her something she's been subconsciously searching for: stability. Psychologically, this type of confidence triggers a sense of safety in her nervous system. It tells her that she doesn't have to perform, compete, or over-explain. She can just be. That's why women find calm men deeply attractive. They allow her to drop out of her overthinking mind and into her feminine energy. When she feels that she doesn't have to lead or control the dynamic, she naturally softens. And that softness isn't weakness, it's trust. It's her way of saying, I feel safe enough to be vulnerable here. But confidence isn't only about energy. It's about awareness. It's knowing when to act and when to hold back. It's reading the moment, not rushing it. When a younger woman gives you signals that she's open to you, she's not asking for instant aggression. She's asking for certainty. She's asking for the kind of masculine awareness that doesn't need to prove itself, but knows exactly what it's doing. That's the difference between making a move and making an impact. Confidence is also humility. It's not about thinking you're better than her. It's about knowing you don't have to compete. You lead with your presence, not your ego. And paradoxically, that's what makes her trust your dominance. When a man's power doesn't come from control, it feels safe. It feels grounded. It feels real. Philosophically, confidence is the alignment between thought, word, and action. Most people live in dissonance. They think one thing, say another, and do something else entirely. Women feel that misalignment immediately. But when your inner world and outer behavior match, you radiate coherence. You become predictable in the best possible way, steady, clear, emotionally consistent. That's what builds attraction that lasts. A younger woman will never say, I want a confident man. She'll say, I want a man who makes me feel calm, because calmness is the emotional language of confidence. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally in control. When you can remain centered no matter how uncertain or intense the interaction becomes, you show her something she rarely sees: strength with softness. And that balance is what makes confidence so powerful. It's not loud bravado or empty charisma, it's emotional mastery. The ability to guide the moment without forcing it. The ability to make her feel safe while still keeping the tension alive. The ability to be assertive without being aggressive. That's when attraction turns into respect, and respect turns into connection. Confidence is not an act, it's a signal. A signal that says, I trust myself enough to handle whatever this moment brings. When you embody that, she feels it instantly. Her breathing slows, her energy shifts, her guard lowers. Because now, she's not responding to your words, she's responding to your presence. So, when she gives you that look, that pause, that subtle invitation, don't second guess it, don't rush it either. Just breathe. Hold your ground. Move when the moment feels right, because the power isn't in what you say, it's in how certain you are of yourself when you say it. The truth is, women don't remember every word you speak, they remember how you made them feel. And nothing makes a woman feel more drawn to a man than confidence that feels effortless, not forced. So stop trying to impress her, stop trying to perform, just be. Be the calm in the chaos. Be the man who doesn't chase connection but creates it through presence. Because at the end of the day, that's what every woman is secretly waiting for. The man who doesn't ask for permission, doesn't rush for validation, but simply knows. And when you move from that kind of certainty, she doesn't resist. You become the moment she's been waiting for.